Hey, what is going on, Madden family? We are here today. We are discussing the choices you get from the Hall of Fame edition, and that would be the Hall of Fame players, the legends, the Dan Marino, Terrell Davis, T.O., Brian Urlacher, and Rod Woodson. Now, we're going to go over all five in sort of detail, and I'm sort of going to rank them just how I feel, right? Now, this is based on the information and some of the stats we saw in Eric's video. His link is going to be down below. And then from that, of course, we're just going to make a deduction, because right now what we saw were the 80 overall stats for these cards. And then I guess you can power them up or upgrade them to an 85, maybe higher. I'm not 100% sure on that, but at least to 85. So we're going to go over these. We're going to get into it. Let's take a look at them. Right now, we're just jumping in. We're jumping in, and hopefully you guys can come away with what you like here. So starting out with our fifth place is the easiest choice for someone don't do is Dan Marino. We see his stats here as an 80 overall, and just nothing about that card looks good. Now we don't know what the stats are for base cards or legends or anything like that, but this card just does not look like one that you would want on your team at all. Even if you're a Dolphins fan, the Ryan Tannehill card is probably going to be better, and you're not sacrificing getting potentially someone else down the line. You know, if these cards can be upgraded past an 85, kept throughout the year, kept going, you know how we had goats last year, but they sort of stopped. If there's no stop, then obviously we've got a good starting point for some of these cards. But Dan Marino, just don't do it. Just don't do it. So up next, in my opinion, as we see here, is Terrell Davis. Now, yeah, I mean, his card doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look terrible, I guess, for what an 80 overall is. You know, he's got decent speed. And I say decent, guys, you got to remember, it's the beginning of the year. But running back, it's a dime a dozen. It's a dime a dozen. There's so many running backs that come out that I'm not going to take someone who is going to pigeonhole me into a running back spot for the year, having him there when there's going to be so many better ones, easier to get, cheap, budgety guys from teams of the weeks. Now, running back is just a position where there are so many that come out and so many that are viable that I just would never, I wouldn't do this one either. But he's going to come in at number 4. He's usable. He's usable, but I think he's a waste of that selection, in my opinion. All right, now up next is I've got Brian Urlacher at 3. Now, the reason I have Urlacher at 3 here is because we didn't get to see his stats. Now, what you guys are seeing here are the stats from a 79 overall he had last year, just sort of comparing so you guys can see sort of what it is. And the card looks terrible, honestly. And we've seen what the 90 overall Ray Lewis has, like 81 speed even, and that's a little low. It feels really low, because I mean, at middle linebacker you've got Shazier's, you've got Bobby Wagner's, Deion Jones's, Deion Buchanan's. There's so many guys that you can play at linebacker, in my opinion. And pigeonholing yourself into taking Urlacher, where you're only going to have 1 or 2 middle linebackers on the field maximum at all times. I just don't like it. Now, obviously, if we see the stats and this card looks really good, then that would change my position. But since we don't know the stats, I have to slot him at number 3. That's just the way it goes. Urlacher's cards have always been really good, but again, based on who else we could possibly have in the game, Urlacher, you're number 3. And now up next we have at number 2, for my opinion alone, is T.O., Terrell Owens. Now his card looks good. His cards are going to be good. T.O. is a very balanced receiver, but again, there's so many receivers in the game that you can get. They're all the same. It's not like he's 6'7" like Carmichael. It's not like he's a burner. So his cards are going to look like what DeAndre Hopkins cards look like, and Julio Jones cards look like, and AJ Green cards. All those cards are going to all be very similar throughout the year. And yeah, T.O., you can use 3, 4, 5 receivers at a time, which is great. So that's why I put him at number 2, because he does have some versatility and some flexibility. But if you're getting the Hall of Fame edition, you're also getting the 89 Antonio Brown. So that would mean you have 2 receivers here, and all of a sudden you're just really locking that position into place. And that's probably not the best thing to do to start the year. I like having flexibility. I like having a card that has a longer lifespan, because out the gate, this TO is not your number 1 receiver. Antonio Brown is, right? So that's why TO is 2. I'm sure his card's going to be really good. And if you can get him at Playmaker at 85 overall, then he probably steps up to number 1 in my opinion, because Playmaker is always, it's so important. It's almost vital to offenses at this time. But we'll see what the 85 stats are. But right now, as it stands, TO, number 2. All right, and number 1, to me, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I don't know, Rod Woodson, because he's a cornerback. He's got, I mean, his stats on this card looks pretty good. 84 speed, 85 excel, 85 agility. He's got the same speed as the 89 Antonio Brown. Keep that in mind. His man, his zone, all that sort of stuff. He looks good. He's always got block shed. He's always got hit power. Rod Woodson is just, he's a versatile corner. He's one of very few that you're going to see throughout the year. You got Nitrate Lane, you got Rod Woodson, even Jalen Ramsey you could throw into that, because EA always gives him super high hit power and block shed. So there's not a lot of cards that you can really get who can have that high level run support at defensive back. So that's for me where Rod Woodson is coming in at. Now, I thought this was a good comparison because we see the 80 overall Rod Woodson right here. And I'm going to put up an 81 overall Rod Woodson stats from last year. We see that this year, obviously, I mean, there's one overall difference, but we see that the speed is much lower. The man in the zone went up. So that's probably where some of the overall adjustment has come in. But just to give you guys an idea on how these cards are going to be different based on the stat, it's a little disappointing seeing once I looked and I saw that the 81 Rod Woodson, as I'm pretty sure a lot of people used him last year, at least in the beginning of the year for salary cap, had 88 speed, 68 block shedding, 77 hit power. And we have no guarantee that this next Rod Woodson is going to be anywhere near that good. Those might be the stats for the 85. So it just depends. You know, cards are getting a little worse every year, year over year over year. But 17, they were really bad. 18, they actually took a step back up. So I hope that 19 sort of at least keeps that trend going. But again, that's what I got here. So this is who I have. Let me know who you guys are going to pick. Put it down below in the comments, right? If you guys are new, subscribe, notifications on, hit the like button, all that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm CC, and we'll guys see you next time. I'm out. Peace.